Our next topic is time quality. Time quality is not the same thing as quality time. I really mean when I talk about that, I mean when are you most productive or when do you have the ability to be most productive? So for example, a time quality is different when you are at home in front of a computer with some free time as compared to when you are at work, as compared to when you are driving in your car, and compared to when you are in your bed getting ready to go to sleep. So time quality, for example, is at one measure of time quality is actual time of day itself. So most of us have a lull sometime during the day when we don't have a lot of energy, and that time period would be considered a low time quality because even though for me, for example, as for many people, that lull happens in the middle of the day, maybe after lunch around 1 or 2 p.m., where I just really don't feel like doing a whole lot. A friend of mine has the same thing where she has a lull in her energy at around 2 p.m., but she lives near the beach. She lives on the ocean. Well, she lives about 10 minutes from the ocean. She can get to the ocean fairly quickly. And every day when she hits her time lull, she goes to the beach. And that is her way of getting back into her flow. And I want to say that, yes, this sounds great. I wish I could live by the beach and just run down to the beach whenever I was, feeling a lull. But she actually gets some of her best work done when she is on the beach. Some of the different kinds of pulling people together and organizing things that she does by her cell phone and connecting people, she actually does best when she is during that lull. So at other times of day, these things might not make as much sense for her to do, but when she's away from her computer, when she's away from her usual work environment, she actually gets certain types of business tasks done extremely well. And her beach break, as she calls it, is actually one of her most productive times of day from a overall organization business sense. So that's a really good way of planning for what the ebb and flow of your energy is and how you can set certain tasks to set yourself to do certain tasks at those times so that they work the best for your energy level. I want to make a point that mindful breaks make you more productive, not less productive. What I mean by mindful breaks are, so frequently after a certain amount of time, we will get bored, our attention will wander, we'll start daydreaming or start thinking about things, and we'll still think that we're working, but we're actually not. So it's really in your best interest for when your energy is not at its best, to take a short break. An example of this, and to be mindful about it. An example of this is that, so my kind of downtime during the day is right after lunch. So I go to the same place for lunch every day. Here in Taiwan, it's actually cheaper to eat out than it is to make food at home, as long as you eat local, which I do. So I usually go to a particular lunch buffet place for lunch, and then I will take myself over to the park that's right across from the street. And now I used to go for a bike ride for 30 minutes in the park or around the city, but at the moment I don't have time for that. I'm too stressed. I have too many things going on. But I still recognize that that time of day is a low point for me, so I need to honor that. So I will go to the park and I will go and sit in the park, or I'll walk around a little bit for like 5 or 10 minutes. And that helps me get through that lull in that part of my day. So we talked earlier about always do your best, and it's really a key feature of how to accomplish amazing amounts of things in short periods of time. But as we talked about earlier, your best depends heavily on your energy level and also the time quality involved. So if you are at your best, absolute intellectual best, but you are driving in your car with 3 other people carpooling somewhere, you do not have the resources at hand to be able to utilize that very highly brain-powered time. So time quality is not only your energy level, but also where you are and what's going on. So the whole point of talking about time quality is the idea of using the lowest possible time quality for any given task. Now that might make perfect sense and it might seem a little bit nebulous, so I'm going to give you a specific example about it. So right now I am learning Mandarin Chinese. To be honest, I'm not doing a particularly good job at it because I decided to put most of my energy into creating this course. However, before I started creating the course, and a little bit still now, I've been learning Chinese. So there's a huge difference between high time quality and low time quality with Chinese. So I already mentioned my lull point in the middle of the day after lunch and how I handle that. So highest time quality for learning Chinese are a couple of different time periods. Number one is when I am at home. My laptop is available, I'm not doing anything else, and I don't have to be anywhere for a couple of hours. That's some of my highest time quality. I can use my iPad, I can use my phone, I can use my computer, I can close my door, I can listen to things, I can put in headphones. Another extremely high time quality of probably the same, the other top level time quality is when I am with my language tutor. So when we are together and we are sitting and talking, we do half English, half Chinese. So when we are in the Chinese part of that language exchange, that is absolutely top-notch time quality because we've set that at times of day when it makes sense for both of us. And also I have a perfect resource right in front of me. An example of low time quality for learning Chinese would be when I'm biking to lunch, when I am at my low point energetically during the day, or when I'm speaking with friends. If I'm talking to friends who do speak or at least study Chinese, that's still moderately good time quality. However, if I'm talking to friends who don't speak any Chinese and don't have any interest in learning, then that tends to be quite low time quality because if I do bring in anything Chinese related, it's not meaningful to the conversation. So putting it all together, so in a day of learning Chinese, when I was spending 2 to 3 hours a day on it, as I was my first month here in Taiwan, I would wake up in the morning, and morning time for me is actually a very high, good learning time for new information and remembering old information. So I would actually keep my iPad next to my pillow, and I would have a particular program set up to where I would wake up and I would turn to the side, and for 45 minutes or an hour I would look at Mandarin words, or I would learn the characters for 45 minutes or an hour. So that was a good high time quality. I would get up, I would work on my other work for usually 5 or 6 or 8 hours, which is fairly low time quality for learning Chinese because I need to focus on those other tasks, and all of my work is in English, so I'm not able to use Chinese during those times. Afterwards would be another high time quality. I also had I have still rather, an app on my phone that has Chinese learning dialogues on it so that I can use those when I have low time quality. For example, when I was sitting in the park when I had a little bit more time, I would actually go to the park and use that low energy time. I would sit on a bench in the park for 15 minutes and I would just listen to one of the Chinese conversations. So that's an example of using a very low time quality in a way that is still getting me closer to my goal. So next I'd like you to have a think about how time quality looks for you. First question is, how does your energy ebb and flow through the day? Feel free to pause the recording at this point so you can think about that for just a minute. Question number 2 is, when do you get your most productive work done? And of course, when do you get your least productive work done, or when do you struggle most to get productive work done? And again, you can pause the recording so that you can jot a couple of notes down about that. Question number 3 is, do your current work patterns, the way that you have them set up, help or hinder you based on your answers to number 1 and number 2? Once you think about your energy ebb and flow and how you have your work structured right now, you should be able to see whether that actually makes sense based on your ebb and flow, and whether there might be a better way that you could handle that.